Hey everybody, and welcome to I Got This with Lex and MGP. I am Lex and I've been a personal trainer over the last 5 years. Martha has been my client for 3 years, and over that time she has lost over 50 pounds and changed her entire perspective on life. Join us each week as we dive into health, mindset, and everything in between. Hey everybody, and welcome back to I Got This Pod. Lex and MGP here. So today we are talking about time, and one of my current endeavors is figuring out how to slow down time. I feel like over the past few years with the pandemic, then coming out of the pandemic and figuring out how to recover, and yes, I know it's not over, however, society is going more back to normal and trying to figure out how to live life. I feel like time has just passed so quickly.
Those were lost years for a lot of people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It felt like you blinked and it was over. Mm-hmm. And
not during it for a lot of people, but now, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it feels like those days were harder to savor. Oh, yeah. They were harder.
It was harder to find good takeaways every day.
Exactly.
I mean, yours might have been getting a picture of my dog.
Exactly.
On a walk.
Hey, here's a picture of us. But even afterwards, because it is... where like my gym opened back up, we were kind of like digging ourselves out of a hole, and it felt like a difficult time. And to me, this year has seemed like a new opportunity. It seemed much brighter. So my current endeavor is truly how to slow down time. So, and this is, we would always love to hear from you guys. In training this week with our group, I asked each person to pick one word they'd like to focus on this month, and then what that word meant to them. So some of my experiments this year was, number one, been setting in monthly intentions. So instead of just one big year goal, setting monthly intentions, little goals for that month, whether they be mental, more physical, like one is like not buying anything on Amazon. And then every single day, savoring each day and kind of saying, okay, here are the things that I have to do today, but here are the things that I want to do today. And like letting that set in is like, I can do whatever I want to do. How do I go about doing them? And those little things have made time just a little bit sweeter almost, and each day a little bit more savory, and me just a little happier. And I don't think this is an easy topic. I think it's almost, when we finished our conversation, a large group, I think a lot of us were kind of sad.
I think so. I agree. Yeah. There's some serious faces in there.
Yeah. Because you realize...
time's finite.
It is. And one of the members in the group, I mean, I know it's harder, like when somebody in your family is not doing well either, she was like, there's only so much of it, and it's the honest to God truth. So you have to slow it down. You have to slow it down to the best of your ability. You just said before we were kind of recapping what we were going to talk about this episode, you said like some of the fastest times that went by in your life.
Probably when the kids were growing up. And I think that was because we were so incredibly busy all the time. You know, my husband and I were working full time. The kids both had all kinds of activities. They had school. It was just go, go, go all the time that you would blink and it would be a week had gone by or a month had gone by.
Right.
And you wouldn't even remember what even happened. It was just, where do I have to be? Where do I have to do? What do I have to get done?
Exactly. Because you're so busy taking care of other people and your to-dos of work and your to-dos. There's just so much on your plate that the things like I just said, like, what do I want to do today?
Right.
You don't have that luxury almost.
No, you really don't. And those times were rare. I mean, where we got to just take a breath or go on a vacation or whatever it was.
Right, exactly. So I have to give credit to those too. And I do. I hold mothers and fathers at the highest esteem if they're doing the same amount. They have to balance so much. Taking care of people, that's insane to me.
I mean, people always say it's the hardest job, but I'll tell you what, it's the hardest job.
Exactly.
You can't just walk away or punch the clock.
No, you're not. Like, I have to take a break. I saw this meme. It was too funny. It was, think about coming home from a long day of work, and you walk in the house, and there's a kid there, and they just want your attention and to hang out with you.
That's not even a meme. That's real life.
To those of us that do not have children,
okay,
it's like
spend your whole day with children and then come home and deal with your own children.
No, thank you.
And I would just be like, can you figure out your schoolwork yourself, please?
Yes, can you guys just figure this out? But I do hold this, those times where your life is busiest, so that, like, highest regard. So you and I, in the space where, like, I definitely don't have children right now, and hopefully I would like some. And you had children, you still have them, but they're out of the house, so you have more time to kind of let time teach yourself to slow down time. So I guess this episode is maybe less for those who have such a busy schedule.
Or maybe I wish I had learned some of these lessons during that time.
That makes sense.
Too. So maybe you don't have unlimited time when you have kids. It is what it is.
Exactly.
But maybe it would have been better for me health-wise and stress-wise if I could have figured out
how to do
some of that then.
Yeah. And the thing is, you never figure it out, I'm sure.
Not 100%.
No, but there are probably tools. So I looked up this article. It's on memory.ai.blog. So if you guys want to look it up, you can. And I truly looked up, like, why our time speeds up. So it's our perception of time is based on three things. Okay, so attention, memory, and anticipation. So I'm just kind of got to dig deeper on these and, like, tell me what you think and if you agree. So attention is our present experience of the present, right? So are we sitting here focusing on what we're doing? Or are we, like, thinking about the next thing, and are we thinking about our to-dos? And are we sitting in this moment and savoring this moment?
I am savoring every minute of this podcast with you.
I am too. I love it. Next is memory, our present experience of the past. And then finally, anticipation, our present experience of the future. Together, these three mechanisms inform what information we respond to in any given moment. In fact, at any moment, we are only aware of 3 or 4 things. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, and then it goes into, like, why time speeds up. And the thing is, your time in your mind changes based on those 3 factors.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, living in the moment is huge because I know for a long time you're always thinking about, I can't really enjoy what I'm doing right now because I have to worry about this, or how am I going to get this done? Or
I got a qualm with that one. Is qualm the right word?
I think so.
Okay.
Problem with?
Yeah, I do. People say live in the moment.
You can't always, though.
No, but also that's such a, for your mind to be somewhere else, and then you have to intentionally bring your mind back to center. So, like, sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll be doing something, and then my mind will be wandering or daydreaming, and then I have to intentionally bring my mind back to center. That I don't believe is, like, yes, you're intentionally trying to bring your mind back to center, but I actually think, like, living in the moment has more to do with, like, the calmness and, like, knowing that, like, there's no stress or anxiety for the next thing, as opposed to, like, if you still have stress or anxiety and then pull your mind back to thinking about the thing that you're doing, I would still not be living in the moment. I'm still just stressed about the next thing. But if I can find a way to be peaceful about what's to come, I do find myself, like, for instance, I have an appointment today at 1:30. I'm not stressed about getting there or getting ready, but if I was, it would be so hard for me to be in this moment right now.
Yeah, you're just cognizant of where you have to be later.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm just aware. But I think a lot of us have anxiety of what's to come.
I think when I think of this issue, I think of more, and both my mother-in-law and my mother said this to me, enjoy these times when the kids were young. It's going to go by so fast. You're going to blink and they're going to be adults. And I, of course, at the time was like, oh, you're ridiculous, whatever. But because we never believe, but it does go by fast. And I do remember hearing both of their voices in my head when the kids were like, oh, will you just come read me a book? And I'm like, oh, but I got to get the laundry done, or I got it.
Yeah.
And I stopped. And I'm like, you know what? It doesn't really matter if the laundry gets done today.
Yes. Yes. That's it. Yes. It's more yes, and yes. Yeah. It's taking a moment to pause and say, okay, do the things that are giving me anxiety matter? And are they worth giving them that power over me? Or is this moment right now with the children so important? Or is this moment in this conversation, in this mastermind, or this something that's going to build my soul more worthwhile.
Yeah, they're not going to remember that they had clean sheets
No.
or whatever.
Not at all.
But they're going to remember that we used to sit in the chair and a half in our family room and read books together for a long time.
That's really sweet.
And act them out or whatever.
Yeah.
And they do talk about that. They never talk about how I always had the laundry done.
No, never. It's things like that really matter. And I think that's one aspect of slowing down time for sure.
And I think we talked about this in a previous episode. If it's not going to matter in 5 days, then it shouldn't matter.
Exactly.
So,
and then what was the other thing? So in that group session where we were talking about time, it's so crazy how surreal everybody got during that session.
It was very deep.
It was. And there are people in that room from 20 years old to 60 years old. And I think that was really wild to see people at all ages feeling like, oh my gosh.
And men and women too, yeah.
Yep, men and women of all ages, all walks of life, like the same, like that same fleeting feeling. But one woman she said, the reason why when you're growing up, time feels like it's going so much slower is because you have all these new experiences.
Oh, as a kid, remember? I can't wait to be, 13, because then I'll be a teenager. I can't wait to be 18.
Or you're going to middle school.
Or whatever it is. You can't wait to the next thing.
Yes. And then you go to middle school and you're like all these new people and new experiences. Or you're like going to like just all these new, like crazy new things that you've literally know. This food, like I remember, I will never forget this. I was probably like 12 or 13. I was at dinner with my my aunts and uncles and cousins. I was sitting next to my older cousin. He's 2 years older than me. He said, I dare you to try the calamari.
Calamari's delicious.
Yes, but at the time, right, I was like, what's calamari? I was 12. He goes, try it. Just eat it. I dare you. And then I'll tell you what it was. I ate the calamari and I was like, it's so chewy, right? And I'll never forget, it's such a basic like appetizer now. But at the time, then he goes, they called me Alex. He goes, Alex, that was octopus. And I was like,
it's not even octopus.
Ew. Well, it's like a squid, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. But it's those little tiny experiences that were so, even though to us it's such an average experience, at the time it was so like brand new, and it's those little things that made time slow down. So
we still remember it.
I remember it like it was yesterday. And it's so funny that I could see that being true. Time definitely slowing down because you're experiencing new things and you're savoring those new moments. And I feel like you, over the last few years, have made a very specific point to do those things.
It was a conscious effort.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, because just because I'm a certain age or whatever doesn't mean we shouldn't still have new adventures and new experiences and try all the fun things that we've always wanted to.
Exactly.
And we actually made that a very, very point to do those things.
I would say, what are you doing this week?
Well, this might not be a good example this week.
Not this week, but no, I mean like in the past summer, I would say, like, what are you doing this week for your new experience? And you had like something planned almost.
At least once a month, it was like usually a big thing.
Yeah.
And then little things in between, right?
Yeah. You had a helicopter ride.
Yeah. You're like, what? You just went on a helicopter? I'm like, yep.
That was cool. You went X-Throw.
We went X-Throw. I'm not very good at that one. But
That's
I did
cool.
it. Don't need to do that one again.
Learned how to ride a motorcycle.
I did.
You went tree running to the tree runner.
Yep. And bungee jumping off that. Yeah.
Yep.
I know that.
Any ones that I'm missing?
My daughter and I, Kate, we got our tattoos when she was 21.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love that one.
Although I already had a little one, but whatever. But still, we got our mother-daughter ones.
Those still are, if you're only experiencing it twice in your life, that's still a pretty big experience.
Yeah, because the other one I was like 20.
Yeah.
And it's tiny. We've gone to some places that we haven't been in the past, trying to visit places. So those have all been fun things. And, we have other things coming up that we want to do as well. So I'll report in as we get to those.
Yeah.
But,
do you feel like those made a difference in slowing time down?
Oh, I do. It's very fun to kind of recap what I've done and to think about it. And, so many of my friends or people I work with or whatever are just like, how come every time I just look on social media, you're just out there living your best life?
You're like, well, that's what we should be doing.
That's what we should be doing, yeah. In fact, one of my cousins who lives in Florida, actually, and this is kind of a good example of that, and she's about my age. She taught for 30 years and retired from teaching. Was an elementary teacher, and she actually is now a flight attendant for
Are you
a
serious?
major airline.
How cool.
Right? Because she's always wanted to travel like crazy, and she just did it.
And does she get to now, like...
Yeah, she's a full-fledged flight attendant now in her 50s.
Good for her.
Out there, you know, I think she was in Costa Rica last week, and then she was headed somewhere else.
That's so awesome. You know, I have a client who's worked for like one of the big three for so long. I think he said 40 years, and then he told me, yeah, I'm going to be a pilot come December. He's like, I decided this is the number that I set, and I'm going to be a pilot. And I was like, good for you. Like, yeah, this is a new experience. Your time is not up. You slow down time and live your life so that...
Oh, yeah, I am
I'm
not,
so excited
well,
for that
you know,
person.
I am not rolling over.
No, exactly.
Anytime soon. And yeah, there might be more days behind me than in front of me, but maybe not. You're going to keep me healthy, and I'm going to go for a long time.
Exactly, exactly.
But I'm going to always want to try to achieve that. I'm not just ready to be done.
No, I think...
And so many people, though, they hit 50 or 40 even, and they're just like, well, I'm old now.
Well, I think somebody said to me recently, they're like, well, what is age? Age is just, you feel like you're getting old when you mentally and physically feel like you cannot live the life you once were living. So if you keep your health and your mental strength, then
And
age
physical.
is, and physical, your physical and mental strength, your health, then age is just a flippin' number.
I feel younger now than I did probably 20 years ago.
Isn't that cool? That's really cool. I love
probably,
that.
you know I don't act my age most of the time, so
I think
it's fine.
too, and I feel my 27th birthday is coming up.
Yep.
I feel like I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm heading into my 30s.
Woohoo.
It feels like a big deal.
It is. 30 is kind of a milestone.
It is. I feel like, and I have a few years, but I have to keep reminding myself, no, like, you are so young. You have so much ahead of you.
You do.
Do not pretend that you're getting old. And I think a lot of us, no matter what age you are, I even have 19-year-olds that say they're turning 20 and they're getting old. Like, what? But that's your own perception.
I think regardless of what age, like, you should think, okay, hitting 30 will be like I'm hitting my prime. But honestly, hitting 50, I feel like I hit my prime.
Exactly.
So
isn't it funny? I always thought my 25th year was going to be like my best year ever. I look back, I'm like, this year is so much better than 25. 25
okay, you
was the
turned
pandemic.
25 in the middle of the pandemic.
Exactly. I know. I always thought 25, that's the year. No, it was not the year.
But I look back now and I think of, I don't know, maybe like my mom or her generation when they were in their 50s, and they just seem so old to me. And I don't, and I don't feel that now.
Exactly.
I'm like...
Well, there's where a lot of, again, health factors. I do want to read some of these things from the article.
Okay, go ahead.
These are pretty cool. Going back to alcohol. Drinking alcohol can suddenly speed up time because your attentional system becomes less adequate and you don't form such profound memories. You skip a lot of events, and retrospective time seems to have passed very quickly. That definitely feels like whenever you go out and have like a night out partying, you definitely feel like, oh, wow, I had a great time. I definitely think sometimes I had a great time, but dang, that night went quick.
It does. Oh, no, I could totally agree with that. And the next day, if you're hungover, that day goes slow.
You're like, this is the longest day ever, and I'm never drinking again. This being like a few episodes after our alcohol chats.
Yeah. It kind of ties into just because you can doesn't mean you should as well.
Oh, that's another one. Just because you can have another shot.
So go back and listen to last week's, because, yeah.
Exactly. Here's another one. I like a few of these. I think they're quotes, so I'm not sure who said these. So don't come after us on this episode, guys, because I really don't know where they're from. They're just really cool perspectives. Very often, when time passes very quickly, it's an indication that we're in a positive flow state. We are doing some challenging activity, and we are so focused on it, we lose our sense of self. We don't feel time at all. That, you know what that reminds me is your time.
Oh, running for office. Yeah.
You, exactly that. You were so focused.
I had to be.
On a certain goal that you're so focused on it, we lose our sense of self and we don't feel time at all. And it is one of the greater things that like you did over the last few years that I think was so difficult for you.
It was crazy. When I stop myself and think back to it, if one, I'm like, who did I think I was doing that? And two, I came within an eyelash of pulling it off.
Yes.
So, I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, I did run for the state legislature in Michigan, the House of Representatives, and ended up being the closest race in the entire state of Michigan. I took on a two-term incumbent, and lost by less than 100 votes.
Which is insane.
Which is insane at the end of the day.
And you are coming from no political background
At all.
whatsoever.
Just a high school teacher out there
Somebody
stumping.
who just came up to you and they were like, we want you. And so that was a really tricky thing. I think it pushed you into, I think that's another reason why we're sitting here podcasting, because it pushed you so far outside of your comfort zone, talking in front of people, doing things that like, in the confidence you had in yourself. And I think that you were just talking about during that time, you literally time passed so quickly for you.
It was a bizarre thing anyway, because when I declared to run, it was in December of 19. And then, you know, not too much had to happen in January. And then it really kind of kicked off in February. And then all of a sudden in March, boom, the world shut down.
Yeah. And
so now I'm caught in the middle of an election.
Yes.
Trying to run a campaign out of my house because I can't leave my house. So I'm giving speeches over Zoom.
Yep.
You know, to sometimes thousands of people at a time. It was crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah.
That experience in itself was so outrageous, something that like very, very, very few people experience. And then it's shocking because, again, those are new experiences, but they pass like that. So
yeah,
I think
nothing weirder than being in your kitchen and hearing your own voice on TV on a commercial. Or your mother or whoever.
Yeah, it's so cool that you have those emotions. Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah, it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And for a while, and you know this, I felt like I failed, but I don't feel that way anymore. And you know what? I gave it my all, and it was out of my control in the very end. But you know what? I met some great people, and I gained some good skills. Yeah. And I did something that probably 99% of people would be scared to death to do.
Exactly. I just give you so much credit for doing something so out of the realm of your normal. And again, it passed.
It was hard.
Quickly. Yeah, I know. I know how hard it was for you. It's not something that just is like, no problem, let's go. No problem,
You have to have a tough skin. And I trusted people to be honest and truthful and all that too. And they come at you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're enemies.
When you're photoshopped into pictures that you're like, man, I wish I was there.
But that didn't actually happen.
Whatever.
That's another reminder that, you know, not everything online is real. But the last thing I want to talk about is when we experience very strong emotions, we suddenly perceive ourselves more clearly. It could be a very highly aroused emotional state. It could also be waiting for the bus. You perceive yourself strongly in the situation and time passes very slowly. I resonate with that one weirdly deeply.
Okay.
I feel like this is a very small scenario. We're talking about something really big that you just did.
What, a statewide campaign?
Yes. And I'm about to talk about journaling for an hour last night. But I was listening to a book on tape, and one of the things that I really wanted to do was take notes on it so I perceived it, so I understood it so intensely.
That's not a small thing. I take notes when I'm reading a book like that.
But it's so small and
I get it.
I had these emotions because it was a very powerful book. It was by Napoleon Hill. I'll always recommend. Napoleon Hill has like changed my life. I had these like emotions like that were like so intense. I was like, this is what I want to embody. This is who I want to be. It was so deep. It was so personal. And in that moment, like I probably was taking these notes and listening and being very thoughtful for about 1 hour. But that hour made my whole day so purposeful yesterday. And so so time slowed down for me. Whereas like when you were in this focused state for months on end, it's interesting because only did time slow down after the fact for you.
It crashed afterward.
Yeah.
You know, I was almost in a funk a little bit after.
Yeah, you were like, I don't know what to do with my time, myself, my intent, like where's my intention? It's so shocking.
Oh yeah, because there were so many demands on my time during that.
Yeah.
I was constantly out giving speeches and when we could be out.
Yeah.
Or out meeting people. And it was bizarre how, you know, I would even just run into the grocery store and people would be like, are you oh my goodness. So for the longest time that was happening too, where you'd get recognized out and about and yeah.
It's very odd.
Very odd.
Interesting experience. So therefore it's just weird how time lengthened and then it crumpled very quickly. How odd. I'm glad we got to bring that up in this episode.
Yeah, you traveled that journey with me a little bit.
Yes, I did. I was on the sidelines. I was on the sidelines cheering and looking in, just listening to what you needed. All right, so going back to this topic, our topic is time. It's heavy. Nobody has got it figured out. Well, if you do, please let us know. It's just our intention. What did we say? We also said before this episode, I was like, I'm being intentional. I'm setting my daily goals. What do I want to do? What do I have to do?
Well, that was the one thing when we were kind of prepping this episode. It was weird how strangely we are the same in a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because I said every day when I journal in the morning, 3 things I have to do, and then 3 things I want to do.
Yes.
And sometimes they're the same. There could be overlap.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, the have to do's, I have to get this done for work, or I have to, whatever it is. But then I also want to do.
Yes. And where mine
and you said almost the same thing.
Yes. But mine is more in the moment, where I have a moment, I take a breather, I look outside, or I think for a moment, and I say to myself, whenever I have a moment, I'm like, what do you want to do right now? Like, what do you want to do? And yesterday that thing was, I just have an hour and I want to read this book and journal. And I definitely agree. I think we haven't talked about this until prior to this. And it was shocking. It's like we had that same goal, that same intention of.
We're freakishly weird because we both have color-coded
calendars.
And that's what I do. I was showing you how I color code mine, and then I look for the spots where I can fit in my want to do's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's pretty special. Well, I'm sure a lot of you guys out there color code your. Well, guys, thank you all so much for listening. We would love to hear your notes. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and please give us 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. Tell your friends, tell your fam.
Exactly. And welcome to all our new listeners. We've picked up quite a few lately. We are now heard on, 5 continents?
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yep. So, we just, need to pick up, I think, Africa and Antarctica.
Yeah.
So.
Penguins, are you listening?
Exactly.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all, and we will see you next week.
I got this. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed what you heard, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a 5-star rating. Also, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at I Got This Pod. See you next week. And remember, I got this.